What is going on, everybody? Welcome to or back to Ryder's Record Collection. My name is Carl, and your South Florida record collector is coming at you with another video. And in this video, I want to talk about phono cartridges or turntable cartridges, specifically moving magnet cartridges versus moving coil cartridges, what they do, what the differences are, and hopefully you will walk away from this video with a better understanding of phono cartridges and specifically your phono cartridge, depending on what you have. So at their most basic level, a phono cartridge is a transducer which converts energy. And in the case of your cartridge or your phono cartridge, it is the conversion of mechanical energy into an electrical energy, which is your stylus moving and shaking and moving around in the grooves, and that getting converted into a mechanical energy, which is then amplified through your speakers, resulting in the beautiful sweet tweet vinyl record that you hear. So as I mentioned before, a phono cartridge is a transducer. Now, every stereo system has a transducer, and as I mentioned, transducers convert one form of energy into another form of energy. And in every other system except for a system that involves a turntable, the only transducer in that system would be your speakers. Your speakers are a transducer because they take an electronic signal and amplify those with sound waves, resulting in the sound that you hear coming from your speakers. So mechanical energy to sound waves is what the speakers do and what makes them a transducer in a regular stereo system. Now, it's very evident that in a vinyl setup, there's another element to it that is not just your receiver, whatever signal you're getting your music from, and your speakers. You have a turntable with a phono input and a phono cartridge. That phono cartridge is another transducer in that system. So in a phono system, you have two transducers, your speaker being one and your phono cartridge being another one. So as I mentioned before, your phono cartridge is a transducer because it's picking up the mechanical energy through the stylus and converting that into electrical energy that is then being amplified by your speakers and being sent out in sound waves, as I mentioned, resulting in the sound of the record that you are hearing. Now, when tracking a record, a stylus can move side to side, left to right, depending on what the channels of that groove are telling you to do, and vertically, depending on what's going on in the music that it is tracking. Most phono cartridges consist of a coil and magnets, and there are two main types of cartridges, or two very popular types of cartridges, and those are moving magnet cartridges and moving coil cartridges. And since we've made it this far, we're at this point in the video, and hopefully you're still watching, I want to discuss what the two types of cartridges are and what the biggest difference is between them. So your moving magnet cartridge is going to be your more common cartridge that is on a lot of higher end turntables. That is the personal cartridge that I use, is an Nord 2 in blue. That is a moving magnet cartridge. So on a moving magnet system, the stylus is attached to the cantilever, and the cantilever at the top of it has a left and a right magnet mounted in between a fixed set of coils. It is called a moving magnet cartridge because as the stylus tracks those grooves, it causes those magnets to move within the fixed set of coils, resulting in the sound that you get. The movement of the magnets within the fixed coils results in a small electronic signal that is in turn amplified by your preamp or your receiver, which is pumped out by your speakers, the second transducer we've mentioned, that you can audibly hear. So a moving coil cartridge is quite literally the opposite to a moving magnet cartridge. In a moving magnet cartridge, you've got moving magnets. In a moving coil cartridge, you've got moving coils in between two fixed magnets. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages to each type of these, and we'll go ahead and go through those now. So as I mentioned before, the moving magnet cartridge is more common than the moving coil cartridge. And some of the advantages to the moving magnet cartridge is that it's compatible with more turntable systems than the moving coil cartridge, resulting in why it's more popular. Another advantage is that it operates on a higher output level, meaning it's easier to hear. The moving coil cartridge is not as loud, so you would need a bigger preamp or a preamp for your preamp. And some disadvantages to a moving magnet cartridge is that they are somewhat heavier than the moving coil cartridge, so they require a greater tracking force, and they are less effective and efficient at tracking higher frequencies. However, the disadvantages to the moving coil cartridge is that they are more fragile than the moving magnet cartridge. As I mentioned, they don't produce as loud of a sound, so you would need a bigger preamp or an additional preamp before your main preamp. They are also much more expensive than the moving magnet cartridges and are a lot more fragile. However, they do have some advantages. Some of the advantages to the moving coil cartridges are that they are lighter, they don't require as much of a tracking force, they have a higher frequency response, and are said to be more detailed in their reproduction of the record. I don't know from any experience, I've only have experience with a moving magnet cartridge, but based upon what I know about the moving magnet cartridge, how easy they are to use, and how easy they are to replace, fix, and work with, I would go with one of those over a moving coil cartridge. My mind could change eventually, but like I said, I've only got experience with the moving magnet. And now, just to play devil's advocate, we'll talk about which one is better. And like most things in this vinyl community, if you do enough reading, you'll go down a big old rabbit hole. And it really boils down to what your personal preference is. I personally like the moving magnet cartridge. That's what I'm used to. That's what came with my Fluence turntable, and I'm super impressed with what I have. Some hardcore audiophiles like the moving coil cartridge because of the sound reproduction, and to each their own. And a counter argument to the audiophiles that like the moving coil, nothing wrong with that, is that some people that own a turntable might not want to pay the money that it costs for a moving coil cartridge comparatively to a moving magnet cartridge, which does just about the same thing, if not with a little bit less detail. I have not looked up prices, but many sites that I visited say that there's a huge or a noticeable price difference between a moving coil cartridge and a moving magnet cartridge. And as I mentioned before, the moving magnet cartridge is a lot easier to work with than the moving coil cartridge, and they also last a good bit longer than a moving coil cartridge. So for me, with paying for something that's a little more expensive that doesn't last as long versus utilizing something that lasts longer and might not have all of the detail, I'm going to go with the moving magnet. And as I mentioned, I have an Ortofon 2M Blue on my turntable, and I really like it, and I couldn't be happier with it, and that is a moving magnet cartridge. And some moving magnet cartridges that I would like to give a shout out to are the Ortofon 2M Blue, which retails for about $225, the Ortofon 2M Red, and the Ortofon 2M Black. Ortofon does also make moving coil cartridges. I will mention the one that I know about based upon the websites that I've looked at, and that is the Ortofon Quintet Blue, and that retails for $450. So comparatively to what that is in a moving magnet cartridge, I'm not totally sure. However, $450 price tag is very expensive. Another moving coil cartridge is the Audio-Technica AT F7. Again, I have no experience with moving coil cartridges, but I figured I'd give you options for both types. So as I mentioned before, your Phono cartridge is a transducer, and all turntables require a Phono cartridge. It's the main interface between your vinyl and your speakers, and ultimately is what is responsible for the playback of your vinyl. I hope you took away something from this video, and if you like it, please throw it a like, and if you like the channel, please subscribe. Hopefully you've learned a little bit more about what a moving magnet cartridge is, or what a moving coil cartridge is, or just what a cartridge is in general. Please let me know in the comments what you have. Please let me know what you like. If you recommend any particular cartridge, let me know down below as well. Let's have a conversation. And until the next time, I am Carl. This is Ryder's Record Collection. Have some fun. Spin some wax. Cheers.